Hey guys, I am Wizarding World YouTuber Victoria-Maclean and I have come to one of my favourite places in Neath. It is the halfway house at the Gnoll Country Park. This place is stunning. But when I first saw this halfway house, oh god, 12 years ago, the first thing it reminded me of was Hagrid's house, Hagrid's hut. And so as we have lost Robbie Coltrane, our beloved Hagrid, I wanted to just lay a candle here. I'm not leaving it here, don't worry, this is just for while I'm filming. But I wanted to leave it here because losing Robbie Coltrane has been one of the hardest things I think we've had to deal with this year. Didn't think I'd get emotional doing this video, but oh my god. Robbie Coltrane came into my life when I was really young. My mum was a huge fan of his, like massive. When he was in the series Cracker, for those of you who don't know, it was I think he played a criminal psychologist. I haven't watched it for years, but I used to watch it with my mum. Excuse the sirens in the background. This is the problem with being so high up, is we can get all the sounds in the valley. I will show you around during this video because it's beautiful, but Robbie Coltrane was such a huge part of my mum's life when it came to him as an actor. He was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal, and my mum fell in love with him in Cracker, the TV series, and it was so good. He was so clever. Never forget, I think it was that programme that taught me about appendix because I think it's his son that his appendix ruptures. It's so stupid to remember that, but it's the one thing I remember. His son falls down in the bathroom and because his appendix has erupted. But obviously the Harry Potter community know him as the beloved Hagrid, Rubius Hagrid, one of the original members of the Order of the Phoenix. Now, I've been looking online at some incredible things about Robbie Coltrane, but mostly about Hagrid because we love him so much. Did you know that Hagrid was actually allergic to cats? And that's why Harry got an owl rather than a cat, because he says they made him sneeze. Of all the things, my favourite animal is one that Hagrid could not get on with because he was allergic to them. It's crazy. Did you know that Hagrid was in Gryffindor? And his father passed away when he was in his 8th year or 2nd year in Hogwarts, and he had to look after himself. I think that's probably why Dumbledore became such a huge role in his life, because he became a father figure to Hagrid. And I think because Hagrid was an original member of Order of the Phoenix, he was kind of trusted by Dumbledore to carry out these incredibly important errands, like picking up the Philosopher's Stone from Gringotts Bank in Harry's first year, even before his year began. Hagrid was an amazing character, but what I loved about Hagrid, for his backstory, for the character, if you like, not so much the actual character in Harry Potter, but how he was created, he was actually based on a real life Hell's Angel that J.K. Rowling knew, and there's no names mentioned, so I think this guy is wanting to keep his identity quiet. But apparently when you met this gentleman, he was huge, he was scary as hell, until you got to talk to him, and then he would tell you about how he was doing his garden and that his petunias weren't doing so well this year. So I think that you can so see it, that he was a hairy biker but he was also a lovely, wonderful, down-to-earth person that we love so much. Now, obviously, what we hear about Hagrid in Harry Potter is his relationship with his father, that him and his father were very close, and from the age of 6, that Hagrid could pick him up with one hand and put him on Hagrid's dresser when his dad annoyed him, but it would make his dad laugh. So I think that's a really lovely memory for us to have heard about Hagrid. I'm getting emotional again, and I haven't got a tissue with me. He was just so wonderful. I mean, one of my favourite Harry Potter endings is the Chamber of Secrets, when Hagrid comes out of Azkaban prison, because he would have been released sooner, but it was because of a ruddy bird named Errol that his papers were kind of mislaid. But what I love about it is he goes up to Harry and he says, "I just want to say thanks." And Harry says, "There's no Hogwarts without you, Hagrid." And Harry gets up and he starts clapping. And then the entire Great Hall claps. because they love Hagrid. The feeling that ending gives me makes me cry every time, because he's this person, he's this character. He was a huge gentle giant and turned out to be one of the biggest softies on the planet. It was such a lovely character for J.K. Rowling to create. And also, what I love about Hagrid is the fact that J.K. Rowling, the only person she could think of as Hagrid was Robbie Coltrane. And that's what I loved so much, is that out of all the characters, he was one of the first ones she created. And she knew that she wanted Robbie Coltrane to play Rubeus Hagrid. He was born in the 1920s, which amazes me. That means he was really old when he passed. And did you know that Hagrid cannot produce a Patronus charm? It's an incredibly hard spell to create, to produce, and he could never do one. Obviously, he left in year 8, so he wasn't really taught the skills that were so important to wizards and witches of his time. Stunning charms were repellent towards him, as he was half giant. So if somebody tried to stun him, he was like a troll. They were tough as old boots, and it wouldn't work with him. I think even in Deathly Hallows, one of the Death Eaters actually shoots Avada Kedavra towards Hagrid, and it knocks him out because he can't be killed that way. So I think that was pretty amazing. Now, Robbie Coltrane apparently was fighting illness for a good few years before he passed. And I think one of the things about him is when we see him in the Return to Hogwarts, where he says that Hagrid will be living for, you know, if people watch it in 50 years, Hagrid will be there, but sadly he won't. I think it's because he knew that he didn't have long left. Now, obviously, respect to the family, his family and friends. I hope that they have been allowed to grieve in peace and obviously put his affairs in order and so on. But it is really sad that he passed away and that we've lost our Hagrid. Boom! They knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. "Where's the cannon?" he said stupidly. There was a crash behind them, and Uncle Vernon came skidding into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. Now they knew what had been in the long, thin package he had brought with them. "Who's there?" he shouted. "I warn you, I'm armed!" There was a pause, then smash! The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges, and with a deafening crash landed flat on the floor. A giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of hair and a wild, tangled beard, but you could make out his eyes, glinting like black beetles under all the hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stooping so that his head just brushed the ceiling. He bent down, picked up the door, and fitted it easily back into its frame. The noise of the storm outside dropped a little. He turned to look at them all. "Couldn't make us a cup of tea, could ya?" "It's not been an easy journey." He strode over to the sofa where Dudley sat frozen with fear. "Budge up, you great lump," he said to the stranger. Dudley squeaked and ran to hide behind his mother, who was crouching terrified behind Uncle Vernon. "And here's Harry," said the giant. Harry looked up at the fierce, wild, shadowy face and saw that the beetle eyes were crinkling in a smile. "Last time I saw you was a baby," said the giant. "You look a little like your dad, but you got your mum's eyes." I can't do his accent, I'm so sorry. Uncle Vernon made a funny, rasping noise. "I demand that you leave at once, sir. You are breaking and entering." "Oh, shut up, Dursley, you great prune," said the giant. He reached over the back of the sofa, jerked the gun out of Uncle Vernon's hands, bent it into a knot as easily as it had been made of rubber, and threw it into the corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden on. "Anyway, Harry," said the giant, turning his back on the Dursleys, "very happy birthday to you. Got something for you. I might have sat on it at some point, but it'll taste all right." From inside the pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled a slightly squashed box. Harry opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a large, sticky chocolate cake with "Happy Birthday, Harry" written on it in green icing. Harry looks up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but the words got lost on the way to his mouth. And what he said instead was, "Who are you?" The giant chuckled. "True, I haven't introduced myself. Rubeus Hagrid, keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts." Hogwarts will always be there to welcome you home. Hagrid will always be there to welcome us home. He will always be there as our gameskeeper, our Hogwarts gameskeeper. He will always be there with whatever kind of love and attention we need. He will always be there to keep us close, to keep us safe, and to be a friend when we need one. And I really love that about Hagrid. He's been an amazing role model, and I just think that Hagrid he's been somebody that we never thought we'd lose, I think. Same as, you know, Alan Rickman, Severus Snape. The people we've lost in the Harry Potter franchise. We've lost so many. Helen McCrory, Richard Harris, he's my favourite Dumbledore. We have lost so many amazing members of Hogwarts, the Hogwarts cast. And unfortunately, as we get older, more will pass. I wish we could put a protection charm around all of the ones that are remaining. I really do. But sadly, life is cruel. It is cruel. But whenever we're feeling so sad and so alone, turning a page of a Harry Potter book, or turning on the films, or listening to the audiobooks, or talking to friends who are big Harry Potter fans, we've always got that connection there. We've always got that love for the franchise as a family. We are a family. Whether Robbie Coltrane is with us or not, he is still in our hearts, and he's still on the screens, he's still in the books, and he's still in the audiobooks. He's still there, and he will always be there. He's just not physically here, which is hard. It is very hard to take in. As a huge Harry Potter fan, as a massive Harry Potter fan, this has been hard for me and for so many of us, but they will always be there for us. Hagrid will always be there to welcome us to Hogwarts. Always. Check out more of my content, take a look at this video right here or this video right here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.